Hello everybody and welcome to one more video on big units, this time a modern big unit. It is in fact 3 units of the Syrian army for the year of 1982, approximately up to 1984, and this is related of course to the Lebanon war of that period and to the Israeli Operation Peace for Galilee. So this is the first, you have here equipment for the first armored division, for the third armored division here, plenty of army assets that we'll talk later, and also some assets for the famous 85th brigade that was inside Beirut. This is a slightly different army from the ones that I've been showing you, because this is a different scale. When I started to make these armies, I mean, both this one and the Israeli that I will show you later, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, there weren't many brands that make modern equipment. So I used the 15mm and 18mm models. They are a mixture, in fact. There are plenty of 187s models like these ones here that you can see, and also close by there are 100th millimeter models here, slightly smaller. What I do in order for them to be more or less, try to mix them, I make, for instance, as you can see here, there is a smaller base for the 187th tank, and for the 1 and 100th the base is bigger because exactly the model is smaller, of course. But I mean, they don't differ that much. Of course, this is a bigger difference than from, for instance, 172nd to 176th. There are even people that don't like to mix them. Well, I was forced, because of the scarcity of models available on these days, I was forced to mix and match these two relatively different scales. Okay, so let's see the models and speak a little bit about the history of these things. So the first action of the Syrians against the Israelis, in which, in fact, there were some of biggest battles of tanks of those days. Let's not forget that on these days there was also another big conflict nearby, which was the Iran-Iraq War, for which I have also plenty of stuff that I'll show you later. So you could see, and it was what amazed me on those days. I was 82. I was 14 years old on these days. And I remember being at dinner with my parents and watching TV and watching, columns of tanks from both countries, both Israeli and Syrians, and saying, "My goodness, this is true war, terrible war." So I always wanted to somehow to make them. So first armored division, you could find plenty of information for these armies, for their organization, in the very nice Mark Beevy's charts. For this one is for the this one is for the first armored division. I also have I ordered almost all of them that he had. This is for the third armored division. Also, there is another one, if I'm not mistaken, for the 85th Infantry Brigade, one in famously in Beirut. And then I made my own research. In fact, these things are not different from, because Mark Vivis makes these things extremely well. But then I don't know, I adapted this to the rules that I'm now using. On these days, there was still no able archer rules, but there was already rapid fire, so I was making rapid fire. And when able archer showed up, so everything, fortunately, was fitting very well, because able archer doesn't change the ratio, 1 to 5 to tanks and 1 to 15 in terms of infantry. So models, you have here some nice models that came out in Portugal in 187 scale. They are kind of metal and resin also. They're pretty nice. It was a big collection of the Altair type. It came with a magazine. I managed to find along the years several of them, so they are equipping the command of each battalion, which has a total of 7 tanks. One of them is for the command. And these are the very nice, very nice Petner Panzer. The brand is no longer being produced. The commander came from their metal from I don't know where from I think it was from Scotland, but it's something I don't know if it's still on. I'm not sure. I don't remember the name. So these Petner Panzer were coming from the United States. I remember on the days of Anthrax waiting for them for months, and I mean having the package arriving and then being forced to pay extra, and the package being all ripped apart because they were looking for that substance. And these models were very nice, very complete, very well defined. They also produced the T-72, and unfortunately, as far as I know, they didn't produce anything else. So I tried to find as many as I could in several batches. I ordered a number of them, and they are now the basis of my armored brigade for the first armored division. There are two armored brigades. I mean, I could tell you the names. I mean, it's not very important, but Mark Beavis mentions them here. It is the 91st and 76th armored brigades. They're all filled with T-72s. When I started to see that this thing was too much, I slowed down a little bit because of costs, of course. So the second brigade is equipped with the 100 tanks, 15 millimeter tanks, and most of them are, I think they are QRF or Skytrax. I really can't remember exactly. One of them. And the models are also very nice. The figures, I'm sure they are. Let me try to focus. Figures, I'm sure, are the very nice Skytrax Russian tank commanders in 15 millimeter. And whenever I could, I would place the correct markings. One of the things that is spectacular about this Syrian army of 82, and even nowadays, I think they keep, even if more desert yellow is being used, this camouflage, this three-color camouflage of gray, sand and base and green base is very striking, and so it makes I think some very lovely models. Also some brigade commander flags that I found somewhere. I'm not really sure where. Both these brigades at as I told you, this one is incomplete. There are still two battalions that should be here, but they will never be, probably because it's simply too much. I think I can mix and match the different units and make whatever I want. So I think I will consider this thing done. So for the transport of the infantry, there was one battalion of infantry in each of the armored brigades. There are BTR 60 PBs, and these ones were from Skytrax. Also, it's Skytrax commanders. Very lovely, very detailed, very heavy, as you probably know, models, and more here for the second brigade. Some reconnaissance here in the form of the BMDR-2 and the PT-76. Everything Skytrax. More Skytrax here in the command, in this command vehicle. 187th, sorry, Land Rover here. That this one I think is from Morocco. That the Syrians are also using. And now we pass to the tanks of the mechanized. There were two armored brigades and to the mechanized brigade, exactly. Mechanized brigade was equipped with instead of three companies per battalion, there was only one battalion, of course, but there were 5 companies of T-55, and the majority of these guys are, trying to remember the brand, they came, I think, from Scotland. 187th models, but I really don't remember. I have Cromwell on my mind, but it's not Cromwell. It's something. I think then they were sold to Germany, and they kept on being produced in Germany because Germans are crazy, as you know, about this scale because of their train addiction that they have. So these guys are very, very, very good metal and resin. And I also found some Echo tanks in Spain, some transformations, some add-ons, and they became relatively close to the. Whoops! Let's try to focus. Not easy. My goodness, this is not. This is being terrible. Okay, now it's better. These are the Echo Spanish T-55. In fact, I think they have T-54. Turret is slightly different from the T-55. It's the major difference, biggest difference. And these two here are Echo. This one is still Scottish blah blah that I was telling you. I don't know exactly what. And this one comes again from the kind of that collection of that magazined, accompanied tanks. Okay, I think I'm saying it correctly. And these are some other camouflage that apparently some of the T-55, at least of the Syrians, had on these days. So a total of 10 here, and command 1 also. And this one is yeah, it is one more of those magazine collectibles with a tank. We don't care much about the magazine. We want the tanks, of course. So now for some support that can be used by both divisions here, both by the first and the third. You see some acacias here that the Syrians received around this conflict. Not sure if they ever entered in action in this conflict. Also some Gvozdikas here. So these are 152 SPGs, and these ones are 122 SPGs. Both of them, not sure if they have never found any hard information that they were in fact used, but they were apparently. 82 is the year of entrance, so maybe they were used in the conflict. Not much information, as everybody knows, about the Syrians on these days. The one that comes from the Israeli side sometimes is also highly exaggerated in terms of casualties of the Syrians, and as usual, the Israelis never have casualties. It was, of course, also a bit of propaganda from their side, of course. So you have here the 37 millimeter guns that they also used. They can be, I mean, more or less relatively similar to the S60 with 57 millimeter guns. You see here some toy tows, which more or less is similar to the Russian trucks, and even the size is okay. If you look here, this one is maybe QRF, and if you place this one side by side, difference is not much in terms of size, so they are okay. And then you see some engineers here. You see some BTR 152s, some ZIL big trucks, another BTR 152. And now we pass to the third armored division. Third armored division, you have here the two armored divisions. Armored brigades. Sorry, they're incomplete. There is one battalion in each that is still not here, and it will never be probably because this is simply, as you understand, a little bit too much. I mean, if there is ever a battle in this table, even if the table can be slightly enlarged, there will be no space for the Israelis. So I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to have more stuff than this. So you have here more Petner Panzers, T-72s, lovely model. Also some metal from the magazines. 187s also. More Petner Panzers everywhere. Some command that I'm always finding, even in secondhand fairs and things like that. I tend to find these things. Sometimes I buy them, and sometimes I don't know what to do with them, so they go to the command of the brigades, or the command of the regiment, or the command of the division. I mean, I always find a place for them. Then I used some Zvezda 15mm T-72s to make the K version with the extended aerials, as you can see, which makes a nice diorama. So one for each of the brigades. The brigade now shrank a little bit, and now it's time for some very lovely, for these are, if I'm not mistaken, plastic, so probably Zvezda. And also plenty of Skytrax here. So the model of the T-72, one of the initial batches of the T-72. And here there is a little bit of an exaggeration. This one has this side explosive protections, these bricks, but this is a much more recent T-72. So eventually for another conflict, but it's still here because it's around the same scale. Figures inside are always the Skytrax ones. Now for some BMPs that were present on the battalions of the infantry mechanized battalions of each of the brigades. Again, that Scottish brand, if someone can tell me the name, I would be very helpful. It would be very helpful. I don't really remember. More of them here. This was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was my first order ever from England. I received these 6 guys, and then I received 6 T-55s that I've showed you before, these ones here. And I think these ones were some of the first, when I was maybe 18 years old, something like that, I don't know. So somewhere around a few years after this conflict finished. And thanks to my grandmother way of paying, I don't remember what it was, she ordered these things for me. And then you have here for the mechanized brigade, exactly. The armored brigade are seen. For the mechanized brigade, you have another batch of T-55. Most of them are, some of them are Echo, and others are Skytrax. Skytrax or QRF. I really, sometimes I can't distinguish them. QRF is, the detail is not as definitive as in Skytrax, but even so, they were very nice. And then with this kind of, this kind of painting that they have, I mean, sometimes the detail gets a little bit obscured. Now for some other means, for instance, you have some fuel containers here. You have some anti-tank BRDM-3s, if I'm not mistaken. These are the BRDM-3, I think, with Sprandl missiles. Then some reconnaissance, again with BRDM-2s and PT-76. These PT-76 are Echo. These ones are Skytrax, and these 2 are also Skytrax, if I'm not mistaken. Now QRF for the Shilkas, I think. Yeah, this one is plastic here. I remember when I placed it on the table, it was much lighter. So this is a Shilka from Zvezda. And then you have the Gaskins here, anti-aircraft, and then the Strelas here also, the tracked vehicle is the Strela, and the Gaskins are the wheeled vehicles. And then there is a big Trident 187th, slightly bigger than the other ones. Shilka, another Shilka here. Also some towed artillery, the M46 from QRF, yeah, with or Peter Pig. No, I think the crew are Peter Pig, and the guns are, well, whether Peter Pig or QRF, not really sure. These ones I remember because they are irregular miniatures. 152 D20s exactly, and these ones are 130 millimeter M46. So there are several of them for several batteries or an entire regiment if you want. Let's leave these ones for the end. These are nicer. Now more artillery in the form of QRF Katyushas, BM-21s, Grad system, and then for a very funny unit, which is the 85th Infantry Brigade, the ones that were inside Lebanon and defended Lebanon for almost Beirut for almost 3 years. And They have plenty of anti-aircraft vehicles with adapted vehicles, some quads, some quad 12.7, 20 millimeter. I don't remember this. These are the, I don't remember the name of this quadruple machine cannon, autocannon, but it's placed on top of a Unimog made by Mercedes. Another one, the models, if I'm not mistaken, the guns and figures are QRF, and the vehicles are Rocco. More Rocco vehicles here with more anti-aircraft guns. This one is a scratch built one. I'm trying to remember, Zoo 23, right? Yeah, 23 millimeter guns. I now remembered. Sorry, the Zoo 223 or 23-2, something like that. These are the Zoo 423. Okay. Another scratch build one. This is a truck I found somewhere in a supermarket, something like that. So the gun is scratch built. Is a Zoo 23 with two tubes. Better saying like this, with the Peter Pego Skytrax crew. I really can't remember. There's a small Oise here, and there are more Unimogs here. These ones I remember are clearly Peter Pig. A very nice, a very funny model. These ones are simply for transport of personnel, and these ones here are again Rocco, but only for the transport of people in different forms, different formats, if you prefer. Now for the infantry. All this infantry you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8 battalions, which can, populate these 2 divisions and a half, together with the first, the third armor divisions and the 85th Infantry Brigade. It can populate them more or less. There still would be a few more necessary, but as I told you, it's more than enough. So all these guys are irregular miniatures. They're very nice models. They are in fact Russian model, the Russian infantryman with AK 74s and 47s, of course. And you have plenty of stuff different. You have mortars, the 120 millimeter mortar, of course. You have command groups with radio and officers. You have the machine guns, the heavy machine guns, Tudushkas. You have the rocket propelled grenade, the RPG here, RPG 7s. There are several positions for the. There are some snipers, and then I have slightly different bases to identify each of the units. Also some commandos here. For the commando add a more vibrant uniform with camouflage. Commandos are here. Also, some of these guys are not irregular miniatures. These ones I think came from QRF, if I'm not mistaken. Also some anti-aircraft systems, portable. Yeah, and these, at least these two, no, there's 3 battalions of 8. So probably there are 5 infantry battalions, if I can recall, and 3 commando battalions, because commandos, Syrian commandos, are also very good fighters, and they were a nuisance for the Israelis, and they were lavishly equipped with anti-tank guns also. So the Syrians are almost seen now for this, I think, juicy part, which is the famous Bekaa Valley aircraft. Anti-aircraft installations that the Syrians had, which were apparently, by this, at least according to Israelis saying, they were completely wiped out by their aviation. Today, a story that is still not very clear because apparently destruction was not that big. But even so, Israelis like, of course, to say that everything was wiped out. So you see here the SA2 gainful, which are completely scratch built. There were no, at least the scale on those days. So I built them from pieces of plastic and probably pans. I don't know what I use. I really can't remember. And they became, I think, relatively nice. So I built two SA2s. I also built the system. If I'm not taking this one is wrong. I think it's like this. The system, the control system and radar system, completely scratch built. It's a big thing. I found some images of them, and then I built this awkward model. I don't remember the name. I forget to write it underneath, so I really don't know the name of this thing. The same for the SA3, the Goa system, also completely scratch built from 172nd missiles and things like that. Probably I used then plenty of course of evergreen plastics to make all this, and they became quite at least quite similar. Same with this guy here, which is the radar for the SA3 Goa. Different system from the one I've showed you before. I remember using regular miniatures wheels, and then all the rest I started to build from the bottom up, and I was adding little by little more and more details, and they became relatively similar. So this is the SA6, the gainful system. This is very heavy metal, and this is Skytrax QRF, maybe what's metal. The only thing I had to do was these railings next to the missiles, and probably they were made from paper clips, most probably, and of course the antenna. But all the rest is there. Very, very nice kits. And there's another one here, and then this is the radar. Whoops. Okay. The radar system. Now for the SA8, the Gophers. QRF. Big things. Extremely nice. They're all present at the Bekaa Valley's activities. So there are 4 of them. And then you have here some strange things that were not, I don't know, I never caught them in action. But these are T-34 transformed with in 1/87 scale. These models were some old Premo T-34-85s I had around. They were completely useless because I made all my T-34s in 1/72 scale. So I used the 2 that I had to make this contraption using a 122mm gun, which was also scratch built. The gun shield and the gun itself was and then some Peter Pig models to the back. It became some self-propelled artillery. And here's the second one. And we are getting to the almost the end. There are some Unimogs here, which are die-cast, but not the version that was used in Lebanon, so they were a little bit placed to the side. And finally, the Frog system. The Frog system here from QRF also. And the famous Qutbeh, which was, of course, much more famous in the hands of the Iraqis, but that the Syrians also had, and probably they still do. So here it is, and this is it. This is my Syrian army for the campaign of 1982. So see you next with something else. I don't know if I'll go place the Israelis. Or maybe I also some large number of Iraqis and Iranians, things like that. Let's see what comes out. By the way, let me show you also a little bit of the aviation of the Syrians. They are inside some some of the, you can see here, Me-24s, very heavy metal from maybe QRF. Yeah, 3 of them. There are some Gazelles also inside, also QRF. There are some Su-7, also QRF. Here, exactly. Everything is 1 to 100 scale, okay? Then MiG-21s. This one is plastic. Can't really recall the brand. Two other MiG-21 over there. Another Su-22, or Su-7, Su-7 if I'm not mistaken. And a MiG-29 here, and the rest, I think for the Syrians, it's what I have. And of course, the enemies are waiting, of course, here. So, hope you have enjoyed. See you next with something else. Okay, bye bye. Cheers.